So we've released a number of information videos on Subclass 491 and state nominations, but in this video, I'll show you the steps on how to apply for Subclass 491 Queensland State nomination, including the requirements, preferences, and the important points that you need to watch out. Hey, Teresa Cardona here from Ausbag Visa, where we help Filipino professionals, partners, students, graduates, trainees, families, and our kababayans to migrate to Australia. If this is your first time here, please click the like and subscribe buttons as well as the bell so you don't miss out on the tips and updates about Australian visa processing and application. Okay, so let's start. Now let's start with 4 important points about Subclass 491 State of Queensland nomination. Now first, if you are granted a Subclass 491 State of Queensland nomination visa, you and your family will be allowed to live, to study, and work in the designated regional areas of Queensland for a period of 5 years. Now after meeting certain criteria, you will be able to apply for a permanent residency visa through Subclass 191. Now, Subclass 191 is not yet open. It will open on the 16th of November 2022. Now, second, the state of Queensland has a list of selected postcodes that are categorized as designated regional areas. Now, the designated regional areas in Queensland are these postcodes. Now, this means that once you get approved, you will need to relocate to any of the postcodes here. Or, in the case of seeking a Queensland nomination for Subclass 491, you will need to already be living and working in any of the regional postcodes. Now, please note that the office in charge for the nomination is the BSMQ, the Business and Skilled Migration Queensland. Okay, the third point. The state of Queensland is very clear that only onshore applicants working in Queensland will be considered for nomination. Now, the state of Queensland offers a state nomination under 2 skilled migration streams. One is the Skilled Work Regional Provisional Subclass 491 visa, and the second is the Skilled Nominated Permanent Subclass 190 visa. Now, this video is about Subclass 491 only. Okay, my last point, the fourth one, the last point is please note that PSMQ State Nomination Program is specifically the Working in Queensland stream for 491 is currently closed, but it will reopen in April 2021. So use this time to organize what you need to be prepared for April 2021 opening. Now that you are aware of the 4 important points, you may now approach or start preparing your Subclass 491 Queensland State nomination application using the 7 steps that I prepared for you. Now, the first step that you need to do is to find if you meet the requirements set by the Department of Home Affairs. Now, before approaching the state of Queensland, ensure first that you have or will meet the requirements set by the Department of Home Affairs for Subclass 491 Skilled Regional Visa. Now, what are the basic requirements again? So, you've got to be under 45 years old, must have competent English, positive skills assessment in your nominated occupation that is on the list, and you have a minimum points test score of 65 points. Now, the second step is for you to check or note the opening of Queensland nomination. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, the Queensland Skilled Program is now closed. The next skilled opening will be in April 2021. So, you gotta make use of this time to prepare and check what you need so that when it opens, you will be ready to go. Now, the third step is to check the Queensland eligibility requirements or nomination criteria and see if you will pass. Now, for the state of Queensland, you will need to start by selecting the stream that is most appropriate to your situation. Now, there are 2 Subclass 491 streams in Queensland. They are first the Working and Living in Queensland stream, and the second is the Small Business Owners stream. Now, the Living and Working in Queensland stream is for migrants who are currently living and working in Queensland in their skilled occupation or closely related occupation. And they have an occupation that has been identified as a shortage in Queensland. Now, applicants under this stream must not be currently studying. Now, the small business owner stream is for migrants who are currently living and operating a small business in a regional area. Now, applicants under this stream must have full-time work rights and not be currently studying. Now, this video will not deal with business owner stream. I will leave it in another video because it's quite long. But let's do the working and living in Queensland requirements first. Now, in here, the first thing that you need to do is to check whether your occupation is on the state list. Now, there is no specific skills list for the 491, but Queensland is using the PM-SOL, or the occupation that will meet one of the critical skills or sectors published in the Department of Home Affairs. Now, the priority migration skilled occupation list has 18 occupations. Now, the list is on the screen. I also posted a link of PM-SOL in the description below. Now, you must understand that Queensland government can also nominate those whose occupations are in the COVID critical skills or sectors as outlined by the Department of Home Affairs. So you can also see the list of those sectors on the screen, and I'm also posting the link in the description below. Now, the second thing that you need to do is to check if you have enough full-time post-qualification employment record. Now, if you are lodging an EOI for 491 visa, you must be living and working in regional Queensland in your nominated occupation for the past 3 months immediately prior to EOI submission. Remember that what Queensland requires is a full-time post-qualification and a minimum of 35 hours per week. Now, the third thing that you need to do is, if you do not have it yet, check if your current employer can provide you with an offer of an ongoing employment in the regional area for a further 12 months with minimum of 35 hours per week. You will need that. You will need to show an offer or a contract of employment for 1 year. Now, lastly, as you're seeking a nomination from the state of Queensland, you will need to be prepared to commit to living and working in the regional part of Queensland for 3 years for the 491 from visa grant. Now, once you're happy and believe that you have met the requirements of the Department of Home Affairs and the state of Queensland, the fourth step is to lodge an EOI, or Expression of Interest in the Skill Select. Now, however, if you have any doubts about any part of the requirements, please do not risk it. You may contact a registered migration agent or a lawyer to confirm whether your understanding is correct. Now, in the alternative, you may also seek the full service or assistance of a reputable migration agent or lawyer to handle the entire process for you. Now, you can also contact us because we have done plenty of successful applications for 491. Now, going back to EOI, EOI is in the Skill Select, where you will need to enter your details and claim your points based on the documents you already have. Now, this is where you put your details, select Queensland as the state, and claim for the points against all the criteria. Now, if you want to avoid the common mistakes applicants do with their EOI, watch my other video on EOI mistake. I will post the link in the description. The fifth step is to express intention to the state of Queensland to seek its nomination. Now, seeking a nomination from Queensland requires another set of procedure. You must advise BSMQ on how you meet the critical skills or sector requirement and provide them with the details of your employer and role and how this position is assisting in the COVID-19 response or recovery. Now, BSMQ assesses all EOIs that meet the Home Affairs and BSMQ criteria. If you are successful, you will receive an email invitation to lodge an application and be requested to provide the BSMQ required documents, including the nomination application form, the commitment statement, the settlement funds declaration form, and all your supporting documents such as the skills assessment, English, evidence of full employment in the regional area in the 3 months prior to EOI, and the offer of employment in the regional area for another 12 months. Now, all the documents must be lodged within 14 days and must be uploaded through the document portal of the BSMQ. Now, if your application is successful, as skill select invitation will be issued to you, and at that point your EOI will be locked and cannot be changed. You will have 60 days to do step number 6. Okay, step 6 is to respond to the invitation of the skill select to lodge a visa application. Now, this is a step wherein you will apply for Subclass 491 Skilled Work Regional Provisional Visa via INI account. Now, once the visa application has been lodged and paid, you will then need to wait for the visa outcome. Now, the visa outcome is the last and final step. Now, the visa outcome is a decision made on your visa application. If your application is successful, you will receive a visa grant with the details of visa conditions. Now, if your visa application is refused, you will receive a letter with a decision record which should provide you with the reasons for refusal and a notice of whether there is an opportunity for you to make an appeal. Now, so those are the 7 steps that you can follow or use to guide you in your preparation to apply for Subclass 491 Queensland State Nomination. Now, just a piece of warning, state nomination is not an easy process. When it is done correctly, the visa grant can be quick. But when it is messed up, you can lose time, money, and opportunity. For Queensland nomination, timing is very crucial. So I suggest that you hire a professional to do the entire job for you. Now, my tips. Now, tip number 1 is keep a record of your employment, specifically the 3 months prior to submitting the EOI. Do not undermine the 35 hours a week requirement and ensure that you have indeed meet the 35 hours a week requirement. If you are getting paid on a fortnightly basis, get a secondary proof that each week met the number of hours required. Now, tip number 2 is student visa holders are not allowed by the BSMQ for nomination. So, it is important that if you are coming from a student visa, that you do your best to meet the requirements and lodge your EOI while holding a Subclass 485. Now, tip number 3 is check the selection considerations and preferences of Queensland. Now, for example, Queensland wants applicants choosing Queensland as the nominating state over candidates selecting any state. And keep in mind too that BSMQ wants a fresh application. So please hold submitting an EOI until the reopening of processing. BSMQ will no longer look at the previously submitted EOIs. Now, my last and final tip. Benjamin Franklin once said that failure to plan is planning to fail. When time, money, dreams, and futures are all at stake, you will need to plan. Without it, you will lose direction, especially in the complex world of Australian migration. So plan early and be confident. That's all for today. So don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next week and bye.